welcome back to my little corner of the internet where we talk all things thriller books. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited to be talking about the 10 books that I read in 2023. Now, I read more than 10. I think it was about 15. It could be even 20 if you count some of the audiobooks, but today we're just going to be talking about 10 books that I read in 2023. So let's take a big swig of water because we got a lot to talk about. So the first book we're going to be talking about is Alice Feeney's Daisy Darker. Y'all, I love this book. I don't care what anyone says. Books are not supposed to be realistic unless you're reading an autobiography or a nonfiction book. There are so many people like, this is so far-fetched. Girl, it's a piece of fiction. It is a fictional book. But I loved Daisy Darker. I gave it a 4-star review. And just look at the cover. I love it. It is about, typical 300 something pages. So this story is about the Darker family, specifically Daisy Darker. We're going through her POV of past and present, and they all gathered for the Nana's 80th birthday on like the secluded island, and at midnight the Nana is found dead, and then an hour later the next family member is found dead, and so on and so forth until there's only like 2 people left. So it's just a whole adventure that we're going on. We go through past and present, and it all kind of ties in together. Like, what secrets does this Darker family have, and why are they all being murdered? Is it a family member that's murdering them? Is it an outsider that's murdering them? But they can't call for help until the morning because they're on an island and the tide is high and they can't get out. So this was a wild book. It was very wild. I think a lot of people say it's like Agatha Christie's One by One, or no, and then there were none. I don't remember which one, but it was a good book, and you guys should definitely check it out if you want like a locked room mystery. That's a trope that I really love. I love a good locked room mystery, so you should definitely check this book out. So this next book, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, was it a good book? No. Was it a bad book? No. So the next book I want to talk about is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. I don't know, I can't remember. I have to look if this was her debut novel, but it wasn't a bad book. But again, it wasn't a good book. I think this book is more so if you are just getting into thrillers, like if there's a thriller for beginners, this is one of the books that you should read. So it is about, hold on. So this book is about Chloe Davis, and she ends up finding out one summer that her father is responsible for 6 girls being murdered in her small town in Louisiana. So her family just ends up in shambles, and when Chloe turns 18, she's like, I'm out of here. She's going to college, trying to make a better life for herself, and so she ends up becoming a psychologist in Baton Rouge. So she's still in Louisiana, but she's just making a new life for herself. And this is like 20 years later. She's successful. She's a psychologist, and she's about to get married. But Chloe still has some problems. Chloe needs to see a psychologist herself. But Chloe primarily sees like troubled teenage girls, and she kind of relates to them because she was troubled herself because her father traumatized them. But a girl ends up going missing after one of their therapy sessions, and she's just starting to see like, this is a lot of similarities like with how her father did it. And then another girl ends up going missing, and she's like, wait, this is too similar. My father's in jail. I know he cannot be doing this. So we go on a like a wild goose hunt to figure out who did this, and it's pretty obvious in my opinion who did this in this book. That's why I'm like, was it bad? No, but I could tell from page like 30 who the murder was gonna be in this book. So I would not recommend for someone who's like an advanced thriller reader who's read thrillers all the time. But if you're a beginner thriller reader, definitely check this book out. Not a murder mystery. What is this? A serial killer. It's a serial killer book. So yeah, you should check it out. I gave it, I don't know if I said this, but I gave it a 3.75. Not bad, but not my favorite. So this next book I really thought was gonna be the book of the summer for me, and it still was really great. It still was 4 stars. Like, I gave it 4 stars, but I just needed a little bit more from this author. And the book is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I know y'all have seen this all over the place. Like, look at it, it's just so beautiful. Lisa Jewell is one of my favorites. I've read so many books by her, and we're gonna do a video about me ranking all of the Lisa Jewell books that I've read. But this was a great book. It was a great book. I'm not giving it 5 stars because I feel like the ending was rushed and it wasn't up to like the normal standard that Lisa Jewell had. But this is the book. None of this is true, and it is about Alex and Josie and their birthday twins, and they meet randomly one night at their birthday dinner, and Alex is a podcaster and Josie is like, I want to be on your podcast because I'm about to do some life-changing things and I want it to be documented. So Alex is like, all right, let's go, girl. Like, let's do it. So they start meeting up, and Alex just starts, no, Josie starts telling her story, and Alex is like, huh, this is a little weird. Like, I don't know, like, can all these things really happen to her? So Josie starts telling Alex her whole life story, and then Josie disappears. And I'm laughing because I'm just like, this book was just so wild. If you have to read this book because the book is wild, and it really is like the title, like none of this is true. Is any of this true? I'm confused, but let me just read the synopsis real quick. Celebrating her 45th birthday at the hot new local pub, popular podcaster Alex Summer crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie, it turns out, is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They are in fact birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other again, this time outside Alex's children's school. Josie has been listening to Alex's podcast, and she thinks she might be an interesting subject for her series. She is. She tells Alex on the cusp of great changes in her life. Great changes. Keep that in mind. Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated, and although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep going on the project. Slowly, she starts to realize that Josie is hiding some very dark secrets, and before she knows it, Josie is intertwined in Alex's life and into her home. But as quickly as she can arrive, Josie Fair disappears, and a whole cycle of chaos just unleashes when Josie disappears. So you guys, you need to check it out. It has such good reviews on Goodreads. It has like an average of 4.19 stars, and over like 400,000 people have read this book, according to Goodreads. But like I said, was this a good book? Yes. Could it have been better? Absolutely. I thought this was going to be a 5-star book for sure, because Lisa Jewell, she's a great author. Like, she can write. But this one, the ending just felt a little short for me, so I still highly recommend it if you want to check it out. Y'all, this next book, I had so much hope for it. It was so hyped all over the internet, and I was just very let down. I really am being generous giving this book 2 stars. It really should have been 1, but I do not like to discredit authors. Like, I know it takes a lot of hard work to write a book, but this book was just not for me. It was so boring, and that book is The Quiet Tenant by Clemence McCallan. Y'all, this book, nothing happened in this book within the first 100 pages, even the first 200 pages. Absolutely nothing happened in this book. And let me tell you what this thing says. A pulse-pounding psychological thriller about a serial killer narrated by those closest to him. His 13-year-old daughter, his girlfriend, and the one victim he has spared. Now, doesn't that sound interesting? It does. So we're going through the POV of 3 different people, the girlfriend, the daughter, and the victim that he spared, and the story is being told through them and not the actual serial killer. So that is a different and cool premise. But y'all, nothing happens in this book. Literally nothing happens. I DNF'd it within like 20% of the book left. Like 20% left of the book, and I couldn't finish it. I was like, you know what, Kayla? It got to the point where I was like, I hate reading. I was like, I don't want to read anymore if the book, if I'm forcing it. And I don't like to DNF books because I don't like to waste my money, and I always feel like I can make it through. Like, let's just get to the end. Y'all, I couldn't get to the end. So this book is about Aiden Thomas. He is a serial killer, and he lives with his wife and his daughter. But his wife unfortunately passes away, and then the parents of the wife take the house away. So the first victim that he spared, all the other ones he murdered. The first victim that he spared lives in the shed, and we really don't know her name until a little bit into the book, but they call her throughout the book the woman in the shed or the woman in the house, blah, blah, blah. So she's in the shed, and she's trying to outsmart him. Like, listen, I can come to the new place with you. Like, just keep me, I'll be quiet. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna tell. So she's just trying to stay alive. Her thing is stay alive no matter what. And so he took her to the next house with his daughter, and he locked her up in the room, and that's it. That's literally it. So they just live their life, eating breakfast. He chains her up at night, and the woman in the house and the daughter kind of have a weird relationship, but honestly, and then the girlfriend is random because she's really not even the girlfriend she's like obsessed with him kind of, and y'all, I don't know, I don't even want to talk about this book anymore. But if you want, it had so many good reviews and it was hyped up by a lot of booktubers and bookstagrammers and book talkers. So read it for yourself, because there are some books that people hated and I loved, but y'all, this book, I wish I could have gotten my time back with this book, but yeah, it's not worth it in my opinion. Okay, so the next book that I read, I mentioned it in my last video. It's my top 5 thrillers I've read so far, and it is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And y'all, this was a really, really good book. I think I said I gave it 4.5 or 4 or 4.5. Pretty sure it's 4.5 stars. And just look at the cover. It is so beautiful. But this book is about Leonora Hope, and she has been accused of killing her whole family in the 1920s, but she never went to jail. She never went to jail, y'all. So she's been living the rest of her life out in her manor, her seaside manor, and she has been surrounded by a chef, a maid, and somebody that just takes care of the house, the home, the caretaker, whoever. And now Leonora is needing a new home health aide, and they hired Kit McDeer, and Kit really doesn't want to take this job, but she kind of really has no other choice because she got in trouble with her last job, and she's like, okay, I need some money. So she goes, she doesn't want to help her, but she goes, and Leonora kind of likes her, so she's like, listen, Kit, I'm gonna tell you my story. I'm gonna tell you the real story. So we just go on a whole adventure trying to figure out, did Leonora kill her family, or is she lying? So definitely go check out The Only One Left by Riley Sager. It was definitely a book of the summer. I say believe the hype. It's a great book. Y'all, the next book, oh my gosh, this book, one of my favorites, you guys. I don't even know why I didn't mention it in my last video, but What Lies Between Us by John Mars. Y'all, that book is insane. This is it's one of the wildest books I've ever read, and I gave it 5 stars. So What Lies Between Us is about a mother-daughter duo. Nina is the daughter and Maggie is the mother, and Nina and Maggie live in the same house, but Nina and Maggie have dinner every night together. But Nina, the daughter, takes Maggie, the mother, back up to the attic and locks her up because Nina's like, you have done so many terrible things to me, and you're gonna stay up here and pay for everything that you did to me as a child. Y'all, when I tell you chaotic, this book goes between Nina and Maggie's point of view, and it also goes between dual timelines. So past, present, Nina, Maggie. Y'all, it's a lot to keep up with, but this book was literally insane. So we're trying to figure out, why does Nina have Maggie locked up? What could she have done to her that was so bad? And we go through the book. We go through the whole thing, but then we're starting to see, did Maggie really do these things to her because she's an evil woman, or was she trying to save Nina from something else? So y'all, it is a chaotic mother-daughter relationship, and I am living for this book. You definitely have to go check it out. So the next book I read in 2023 was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Y'all, They Never Learn is a feminist serial killer book, and it was amazing. It was definitely great. So it is about Carly and Scarlett. Scarlett is a professor at Gorman University, and every year she searches out for the worst man on campus, like someone who sexually assaulted someone, just bad men in general, and she murders them. She murders them, and she's been doing it for years. And then finally, her latest victim, it kind of gets out of control, and so she's trying to make sure, you know, no one catches on to her. And somebody on campus is like, there's been a lot of murders on campus, and they're starting to look into it. But y'all, this book, it's an insane book. You definitely need to go read it if you're one of those that's like, I'm here for women getting getting their rights, you know. I'm really here for it. But it's a perfect serial killer, like feminine rage serial killer book, and you should definitely check it out. So the next book that I read in 2023 was The Therapist by B.A. Paris, and y'all, this book does not get enough hype. Like, I don't know why. It only has like 3.9 reviews. No, 3.19 star reviews on Goodreads, and I personally gave it a 4-star review. This book is about Alice and Leo. They're not married, they're just a couple, and they moved to this community, this gated community called The Circle, and they're just trying to settle in and make friends with the neighbors, and the neighbors accidentally let out a secret about the house and the people that used to live at the house before Alice and Leo. And now Alice is slightly becoming obsessed with Nina, the therapist that used to live in their same house, and she's trying to figure out what happened to Nina. Like, what happened to her 2 years before, and now the neighbors, everyone's tight-lipped. They're not telling her anything. They really don't even want them there in the community. And it's just a whole lot of going on in this book, and we are trying to figure out what happened to Nina. And why are the neighbors so tight-lipped? Like, why won't they tell us what happened? So Alice just goes down a whole rabbit hole. She's obsessed. She becomes obsessed with Nina, and she becomes obsessed with trying to get her neighbors to talk. So she honestly needs a therapist. If she needed to see Nina, they needed to be friends. But it was a good book, and you definitely should check it out. I did not see the twist coming at all. Like, I was guessing up until the last page, and I was like, when a book makes me go like, wait, what? It's a good book, and I definitely recommend it. Y'all, this is an unpopular opinion, but the next book I read in 2023 was The Perfect Marriage, and I gave it a 3-star review. If you've read The Perfect Marriage, please let me know why you rated it like 4 or 5 stars, because I'm so confused. Like, it was such a good premise for this book, but it did not deliver. It did not deliver at all. So Sarah and Adam? Sarah and Adam are a married couple in Washington, D.C., and Sarah is a big shot lawyer and Adam is a struggling writer. So Adam is I think he was a little jealous of his wife, so he started having an affair with Kelly. Kelly ends up dead, and Adam is arrested for the murder. We don't know if he murdered her or not. That's what we're trying to figure out during the whole book. But Sarah ends up defending her husband. Like, she's his lawyer in court, and it's a good premise, but the twist, like, you could see the twist coming a mile away. Not every detail in there, but you could see it coming, and I'm just like, ugh. This book had so much potential to be great. It had so much potential to be great, and I really was annoyed at all the couples. The ending really made me mad. Like, what? Like, I know this is a book, and again, I'm one of those people, I know books are not realistic. Fictional books are not realistic, but I was like, really? Like, girl. I was very upset with this book. It frustrated me. So the fact that this has like 700,000 5-star reviews, I don't understand. I'm like, am I dumb? Like, why did I not like this book? But it's just an unpopular opinion, but I did not like this book at all. And one of the last books I read of 2023 was a very unhinged and weird book, but it was The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. And y'all, when I tell you this book was weird, it was definitely different. And I actually liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. So it is about 5 girls getting the opportunity of a lifetime to go and shadow world-renowned author Rosa Vallo, I think that was her name. And so all of them have to write literally every single day. Their main objective is to write the next best book, the next best horror book. And so actually, it doesn't even have to be horror, it's just the next best book. And so every day they're writing, and then weird things start to happen. This is all taking place during a snowstorm in this huge like manor, and they start dying one by one, and one girl will die, and then all of them, they still have to write. Like, the author is very unhinged. Like, not the author of this actual book, but like the author in the book. She's very unhinged, and she's like, well, I mean, they're dying, but you still gotta write, because you're gonna win lots of money if you write the best book. And it is a wild adventure, a wild ride, and you really have to read this book to see it through to the end to be like, what? Like, I'm so confused. But it's definitely a good book, and a lot of people, it has mixed reviews, but I definitely think this is one that you need to check out. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. That concludes all 10 thrillers that I read in 2023. There were some good ones, there were some terrible ones, and then some okay ones. So I really hope you found a new favorite or just a new book to read. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, and if you agree with how I feel, or if you disagree. We are all here to be adults and have good conversations. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.